Good afternoon, teacher. I am talking today about discussion one: French Quarter War and religion. Um, Question one: Summarize the domestic and international background leading to the French invasion and colonization of Vietnam. The French invasion and colonization of Vietnam in the mid 19th century were driven by a combination of domestic and international factors, including the economic imperative and industrialization and a desire for overseas markets. The civilizing mission ideology and strategic competition with other European powers, particularly Britain. Napoleon III initiated the invasion in 1857, aiming to establish a French military base at Turan, Da Nang, and expand French influence in Southeast Asia. France, like other European countries in 19th centuries, experienced significant industrialization, which fueled the need for raw materials and new markets for its manufactured goods. Vietnam's resources and potential as a market were seen as an attractive opportunity for French capitalism. The civilization mission, a prevailing ideology in France believing in a civilizing mission, asserting of duty to bring French culture and civilization to backwards or savage population. population. This justification helped legitimize colonial expansion. Political ambition of Napoleon III. Emperor Napoleon III sought to expand French powers and prestige, and acquiring colonies in Southeast Asia was a part of this broader imperial strategy. New imperialism. A period of new imperialism saw European powers competing for colonies and resources globally. Competition with Britain. France aimed to assert its influence and secure its strategic advantages in Southeast Asia, often in competition with Britain's growing prestige in religion in the region. While not the sole cause, the execution of Catholic missionaries in Vietnam and the pre-existing issues of the 1787 treaty with the Nguyen dynasty were used as justification for intervention. Uh, Vietnamese contacts, weakening the federal regime. Vietnamese federal regime under the Nguyen dynasty was perceived as weak and struggling to adapt to the rising power of Western industrial nations, which has emerged by the 19th century. By the early 19th century, rejection of reforms. Some Vietnamese intellectuals recognized the need for reforms to modernize the country and maintain independence, but these plans were largely rejected by the Nguyen dynasty. What did the French colonists do to Vietnam and to the Vietnamese people? How did this action affect Vietnamese society and Vietnamese people? Were there any good thing that the French colonists did to Vietnam? French France expansion into Vietnam came in hand with power of the church. First, French power French colonialists prospect for natural resources in the country, particularly coal, steel, aluminum, etc. These are stolen from the country to enrich France. Second, they introduced industrial plantations, growing of rubber, coffee, nuts, etc. Laboring on these platforms is equal to slavery, with almost certain death awaits the workers by the end of the day. Somehow, French masters have made plantation workers as terrible as coal miners without safety gears. Third, Catholics enjoys benefits from French government include in free land, construction, free leverage on the non-believers, and secure of a good land location. This creates frictions in society and why the current Vietnamese government has strict law of religion. Vietnam under French rule was a police state. Vietnam under French rule are kind of like that. France built an extensive network of terror police force to look for political dissidents and paramilitary groups to take care of rebellions that might arise. The French Communist Party is hated in France, but the communists did give the colonists a somewhat better term when they came in office. Today, Vietnam and France are different. Vietnam generally receive most tourists very well and are considered friendly by most. Briefly present the 1954 Geneva Conference background, signatories, and provisions. What country decided on dividing Vietnam at the seventh parallel? Following the intensive negotiation on May 8, 1954, the day after the fall of the French garrison at, Dien Bien Phu, agreements were finally signed on July 21st between French and Vietnamese, Latvians, and Cambodians representatives. The agreements concluded in Geneva between April and July 1954, collectively called Geneva Accords. Accords were signed by French and Vietnamese representatives and provide a ceasefire and temporary diversion of the country into two military zones, latitude 7th parallel, popularly called the 7th parallel. All Vietnamese forces were to withdraw north of that line, and all French and associated states of Vietnam troops were to maintain south of it. Permission was granted for refugees to move from one zone to the other during a limited time period. An international commission was established, compo- composed of Canadian, Polish, and Indian members, under Indian chairman, supervised the execution of the agreement. The agreement concluded in Geneva between April and July 1954, collectively called the Geneva Accords, were signed by the French and Vietnamese representatives and, provided for a ceasefire and temporary division of the country into two military zones at latitude 7, 7 parallel. 4. Which country supported Vietnam during the struggle against France? During the struggle against France, Vietnam, specifically North Vietnam and the Viet Minh, received significant support from the Soviet Union and China, along with other communist allies, with support including military aid, financial assistance, military advisor, and training. China was a crucial supporter, providing substantial military and financial aid, including heavy weapons, military advisors, and training for Vietnamese military personnel. China also contributed to financial and economic work and land reform campaign to mobilize peasants. Soviet Union. The Soviet Union also provided virtual military and financial aid to North Vietnam, including air defense equipment, tanks, planes, helicopters, and artillery. Other communist allies, the Democratic Republic of Vietnam (DRV) in the north, was supposed to by other communist countries as a part of broader Cold War content. The international backing was instrumental in enabling the Viet Minh to fight against the French force and finally achieve victory. After all, do you hate the French people because what they did during the colonization in Vietnam? Um, the Vietnamese procession in France and French can be quite complex, shaped by historical, crucial, cultural, and commentary factors. Here are some key points: colonial history. Vietnam was under French colonial rule from the mid-19th century until 1954. The period was remembered for oppression and significant cultural changes. Cultural influence. French culture has a lasting impact on Vietnamese, particularly architecture, cuisine, and language. Cities like Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City features French colonial architecture, and many Vietnamese people enjoy French food and wine. Modern relations. Vietnam and French maintain diplomatic relationships characterized by economic cooperation, cultural exchanges, and educational partnership. And tourism. France is a popular destination for Vietnamese tourists, and many Vietnamese admire French culture, fashion, lifestyle. Despite the positive view, there are still mixed feelings, particularly